Today it happened. Hyperion never expected it. I finally beat him in a fair fight. It took me 8 years to prepare, and the fight lasted for hours, but it was worth it. Now he has no choice but to accept me as a new god. Someone who is stronger than a god has to be a god themselves. There's no way around it. At least that is what I thought, until a weak-looking bunny easily wiped out all my shadow clones. In that moment, all my preparations felt futile. The softly glowing bunny hopped forward its tiny paws, leaving trails of light in the grass. I could hardly believe what I was witnessing. The embodiment of strength was wrapped in such an unassuming form. Even though I'm a lot stronger than one of my shadow clones, I realized that I probably wouldn't be able to beat most of the stronger-looking monsters by myself. And I didn't want to try. Unlike my clones, I was afraid to die. Unlike Hyperion, who never really tried to kill me, the monsters might just do it. As the sun dips below the horizon, I sit alone contemplating my fears. The shadows of danger loom closer, and I can feel the weight of the monsters' gaze upon me. Afraid to die, and unlike Hyperion, who never really tried to kill me, the monsters might just do it. This realization struck me as I observed the creatures that roamed this universe. They were unbelievably strong, far mightier than anything I had ever known in my old universe. Yet, there was a certain stupidity to them, a singular focus on eating, killing, and reproducing. I pondered why they could reproduce while humans couldn't, but ultimately, that was a different concern. What mattered was my ability to create and think for myself. Monsters lack that capacity, and therein lies the distinction that makes me a god, and them mere monsters. In that moment, my existential crisis found resolution. The thought filled me with a mix of dread and determination. I realized that while they might possess physical power, their lack of intellect left them vulnerable. Each monster prowling the night was a reminder of the fragility of life. Yet amidst the fear, I found a flicker of hope in my unique abilities. Unlike the mindless creatures driven only by primal instinct, I could carve my path wielding creativity like a shield. This understanding ignited a fire within me, a resolve not to succumb to fear, but to embrace my identity as a creator. In this universe of darkness, I would be the light. After I defeated Hyperion, he was suddenly very nice. Maybe this universe had some kind of law where the weaker gods have to obey the stronger gods. It didn't take long until he showed me the light. How to create light, that is. It was actually a lot easier than I had thought. It was just like creating shadow clones, but in reverse. I didn't know why I hadn't thought of it myself. It took me only a few days to master the skill. Soon after that, Hyperion asked me, "How do I create shadow clones?" "I will teach you when you can defeat me," is all that I answered. Only fair, I thought, because he had only told me how to create light after I defeated him. But it probably won't ever happen. My shadow clones were the only reason I was able to catch up to him in the first place. If he couldn't create them, he would never catch up to me again. Days turned into weeks as I practiced my newfound ability, the light illuminating my path, while only shadows loomed behind Hyperion. Each night, the celestial stars reminded me of the battle we had fought and how our dynamic had shifted. Yet I knew he was still powerful, and the thought of him catching up made my heart race. I could feel the weight of responsibility growing heavier as I took on the role of the mentor, even to someone I once called an enemy. But lessons are not just learned in victory, they often come dressed in the guise of competition, and I was ready for whatever lay ahead. Until Hyperion told me he was by far the weakest god of all, and that there were gods who were billions of times stronger than him. He informed me that Itztli was the god with the next highest rank. If I wanted to climb up the ladder of the gods, I should defeat him next, but he warned me that the power gap between them was unbelievably huge. Once Hyperion challenged Itztli after years of training, feeling he had grown strong enough. The outcome was not as close a fight as Hyperion had expected. It was over in less than a second. In that fleeting moment, I understood the cold reality of the divine hierarchy. Hyperion's dreams of ascendance were crushed, and I was left to ponder my own ambitions in the face of such overwhelming power. Defeated and humbled, Hyperion withdrew to his palace, grappling with the crushing weight of his reality. The stars above dimmed slightly, each one a reminder of the gods I had yet to face, and the strength I needed to acquire. As I stood on that cliff, I felt the weight of destiny pressing down on me. It was clear that to climb this treacherous ladder of power, I would need to gather strength and wisdom from every source possible, learning not only from victories, but also from failures. The outcome was not as close of a fight as Hyperion had expected. It was over less than a second after it began. Hyperion thought that he could blind Itztli just before attacking him and created his brightest light before charging in at full speed. But it was no use. His charging attack became slower and slower. The attack lasted less than 1 second, but for Hyperion, it felt like hours. Then a few hundred meters before reaching Itztli, Hyperion was knocked unconscious by Itztli's gravitational force. Itztli seemed to generate some sort of gravitational field, which drained the power from Hyperion. He wasn't able to land a single blow on Itztli, nor even come near him. Since then, he never challenged Itztli again. Days turned into weeks as the story of Hyperion's defeat spread across the land. Whispers echoed through villages and cities, a cautionary tale of underestimating power beyond comprehension. The once mighty warrior could only watch from the shadows, reflecting on his miscalculation. Each night he trained harder, but the fear of Itztli's overwhelming force lingered in his heart. The legend of the gravitational titan grew, inspiring both awe and trepidation among those who heard it. No one would dare challenge Itztli after witnessing Hyperion's fall, and for a long time, peace reigned in the realms. Since then, he never challenged Itztli again. After hearing that story, I realized that if I went on like I had so far, I'd never be able to beat all the gods. It would take millions of years. It had already taken quite some time to beat Hyperion. That also reminded me of how old I had become already. It had been 27 years since I arrived in this new dimension. Yet somehow, Hyperion looked younger than I am. How is that possible? I was sure he was a lot older than I. Maybe it had something to do with my newly gained power, the light I could now create. Could I use it to make myself younger? I would do some testing with it. As I stood there, my heart raced with anticipation, eager to explore the possibilities that the light held. The cave felt alive as I concentrated, envisioning the power flowing through me. Would this newfound ability allow me to rewrite my fate and challenge the gods? I could almost feel the energy coursing through my fingertips, urging me to release it into the world. In that moment, doubt faded away, replaced by determination. I had to find out if I could reclaim my youth and confront Hyperion once more.